Eyes never lie. My name is Sawyer, and I have learned one very important thing in my long life. I truly believe that while people can lie, their eyes will always show you the honest truth of their heart. A person's mouth can say words that are not true at all. Their hands can make gestures that are not honest. But the eyes are like open windows to a person's real soul and their true feelings. This single, simple belief has been my personal guide through many different life situations. It has helped me to see the truth when the whole world was full of very quiet and convincing lies. My life has not been a simple one. It has been a long and winding road with many different people, and in every person's story, their eyes were always the most important part for me to read. I want to tell you some of these stories from my past. I want to tell you how I first learned this important lesson, and about the one woman whose eyes I could never fully understand. My first real lesson about the truth in people's eyes came when I was just a young boy. I had a little sister whose name was Chloe. We were playing in the living room one quiet afternoon. She was running around the room with too much youthful energy, and she accidentally knocked over our mother's favourite vase. It fell on the wooden floor and broke into many, many small pieces. Chloe was instantly terrified by what she had done. She knew that our mother loved that blue flower vase very much. She started to cry, not for the vase, but because she was afraid of getting in trouble. When our mother came home a little later, she saw the broken pieces on the floor. "What happened here?" she asked us. Her voice was full of a deep and sad disappointment. "The cat did it, Mom," Chloe said immediately, pointing to our small black cat Mittens. The cat jumped on the table and it pushed the vase over. Her story sounded very believable to my mother. My mother looked at our cat, and then she looked at my little sister. She believed her story completely and gave her a comforting hug, but I was watching my sister's eyes very closely. Her mouth was telling a very convincing lie, but her eyes were absolutely full of pure fear and guilt. They were practically shouting the real truth. I knew she had broken the vase. That was the day I first truly understood this simple rule of life. A person's words can build a beautiful house of lies, but their eyes will always show you the real and honest foundation. My second big lesson came many years later, when I was a young man looking for a good job. I had an interview for a good position with a very confident and well-dressed man in the city. He was offering me a wonderful and very exciting opportunity. He promised me a very high salary and an amazing future with his company. His words were perfect and his smile was so friendly. Everything that he said to me sounded almost too good to be true. He was a very good salesman, and he was extremely convincing. He almost made me believe his beautiful, hopeful story. But then, before I accepted his job offer, I made sure to look very closely into his eyes. His mouth was smiling a big, wide smile, but his eyes were not smiling at all. They were just cold. They were cold, hard, and completely full of a quiet and patient greed. They were the eyes of a hungry hunter who was looking down at his prey. They were not the eyes of an honest man. I knew in that single moment that his promises were just empty words. I understood that this great opportunity was actually a very well-designed trap. His eyes told me everything I needed to know. I politely thanked the man for his time, and I told him I was not interested in the job offer. He was very surprised by my quick decision. He could not understand why I had said no to him. A few weeks later, I read a story in the local newspaper about that same man. He had been arrested by the police. His entire company was just a big scam. He had taken money from many people. My personal belief was proven to be correct once again. The man's words were a complete lie, but his eyes had told me the honest truth. They had saved me from a very big and costly mistake. I used this important rule in many different parts of my own life. It helped me to find good friends whose eyes were always full of kindness. It also helped me to avoid people with envy in their eyes. My life was quiet, and I was very content with what I had. I trusted my ability to see the truth in other people. But then I met Genevieve, and her eyes were a beautiful, unsolved puzzle. I first met her at a small outdoor market on a sunny Saturday morning. She was selling beautiful handmade pottery at a small table. She had the warmest and most wonderful smile I had ever seen. We started talking, and her words were like a happy, cheerful song to me. She was funny, very smart, and she was so incredibly full of life. I felt an immediate and deep connection to her. She said yes when I asked her to have a cup of coffee with me. Our first date turned into a second and then a third. We fell in love with each other very quickly after we first met. She always told me that she was happy with our new life. Her words were always cheerful and very positive. She would laugh and tell me that she had never been happier than she was with me. And I truly believed her words because I wanted to believe them so very much. I was in love with this happy and vibrant woman. I was in love with the beautiful story she was telling me. But sometimes, in very quiet moments, I would see something else in her eyes. It would only be for a second when she thought I was not looking. It was a deep, profound and hidden sadness. It was like a dark shadow that would quickly pass through her bright green eyes. It was a look of a deep and hidden pain that did not match her happy smile or her very cheerful words at all. This dark shadow would disappear as quickly as it came. The moment she saw me looking, it would be gone. Her eyes would become bright and full of a happy, shining light once again. At first, I thought that I was just imagining it. It was always so fast, so very fleeting. I thought maybe it was just a strange trick of the light, but it happened again and again. I finally asked her about it one day. "Is everything okay, Genevieve?" I asked her very gently. "You seem a little sad sometimes when you are quiet." She looked at me with great surprise. "Sad? Of course not, Sawyer," she said with a bright and totally convincing laugh. "I am perfectly happy. Why would you ever think that?" Her words were firm, but I had seen the shadow. I knew that something was truly wrong. Her mouth was telling me one story, a story of pure and simple happiness, but her eyes were telling me another, much sadder story she was hiding. I did not push her on that day. I decided that I would just wait. Pushing her would only make her build a stronger wall around her secret. I needed to be very patient and observant. I started to pay closer attention to all the small things about her. I noticed that she never, ever talked about her family or her childhood. She would always change the subject very quickly. I also noticed that she did not have any old photographs in her apartment. There were no pictures of her as a child or any pictures of her with her parents. Her past was like a blank wall. Sometimes, when we would walk together in the park, I would see her looking at other families. I would see her watch parents playing with their children, and the shadow would appear in her eyes. I knew that the source of her secret sadness was hidden somewhere deep in her past. It was a locked room in her heart, and she was too afraid to open the door, even for me. My love for her was very deep and very real. I loved the happy, vibrant woman she showed to the world, but I knew that I had to love the hidden, sad part of her as well. One quiet evening we were sitting on the sofa, listening to some soft music. I decided to try a different way to reach her. I did not ask her if she was sad. I just started to talk. I told her that she could trust me with anything in her life. I told her that my love for her was not conditional at all. I explained that she did not always have to be the happy, smiling Genevieve. I love the woman who laughs and sells pottery at the market, I said to her softly. But I also want to know the person who is hiding behind her beautiful, sad eyes and her secret pain. I told her that her eyes told a very different story from her own words. I said I would be honored to hear that story, but only if she ever felt truly ready to tell it to me. Tears started to well up in her eyes, but this time she did not try to hide them from me at all. She did not try to laugh it off. She just let the tears fall down her face. She started to speak, and her voice was a quiet, trembling whisper. She finally opened the locked door to her past, and she invited me inside. She told me her secret and painful story. She told me that her childhood was not a happy one at all. Her parents had a very bitter and loud divorce when she was just a little girl. They used her as a tool in their fights. After the divorce, her mother fell into a very deep depression. She was always sad and was never really there for her daughter. Genevieve had to take care of herself from a young age. Her happy and cheerful personality was not a lie, it was a defense. It was a bright and strong wall she had built up to protect her fragile heart from all the sadness of the world. She was so afraid that if people saw her real sadness, they would leave her. She thought that no one could ever truly love the broken little girl that she was hiding deep down inside. The sadness that I often saw in her eyes was the ghost of that lonely little girl. It was the part of her that was still waiting for someone to see her pain and not run away from her. She cried for a very long time as she told me her entire story, and I just sat there and held her close to me. I did not say anything. I just listened and let her know she was not alone. When she finally finished, she looked at me with her tear-filled eyes. They were full of fear. She was waiting for me to leave her, just like everyone else in her past had eventually done. But I did not leave her side. I just held her even closer. I gently wiped away her tears with my thumb. "Thank you for trusting me with your story," I whispered to her. I told her that her sadness did not scare me away at all. I told her that it did not change my love for her. In fact, knowing her truth only made my love for her much deeper. I explained that I loved all the different parts of her. I loved the strong, happy woman who made such beautiful pottery. And I also loved the sad little girl who was afraid of being alone. She did not have to hide that part of herself from me ever again. She could be sad when she felt sad, and she could be happy when she felt happy. She was finally safe with me. From that day on, everything was different between the two of us. Our connection became much deeper and much more honest. The wall she had built around her heart came down. The shadow in her eyes did not disappear completely. It was a real part of her story, a part of who she was, and that was perfectly okay with me. I was not there to fix her. But now, the shadow was not a secret between us anymore. When it appeared in her eyes, she would not hide it. She would just take my hand, and we would sit in the quiet together. My belief was right once again. Her eyes had told me the honest truth. They had shown me a secret pain that her words had tried so hard to deny. They had shown me her real heart. And by trusting what I saw in her eyes, I was able to give her what she needed most, not a solution to her pain, but a safe space where her pain could exist without any judgment. I learned a new lesson about eyes from Genevieve. I learned that sometimes they do not just show you the truth about a person, they show you how to love that person more completely. We are still together, many years later. Her smile is still the brightest thing in my entire world, and her eyes are still the most beautiful and complex puzzle I have ever seen in my life. Sometimes I can still see the shadow pass through them, a fleeting memory of a lonely little girl, and I just move a little bit closer to her and take her hand in my own. And in my own eyes, I hope that she sees the only truth that truly matters now, the truth that she is loved completely, the truth that she will never have to be alone again.